Recording, awesome. Hey guys, it's Brendan Borman back for their 270 live stream. Today joining us is the Lone Ranger, Nathan Williams himself. How's it going, Nathan?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to have you on. As you can see, this is a new environment for those of you guys that have seen my stream. So I've got the door shut, so I don't have to wear my mask, but I am at work. So as you can see, working really hard. But
Nefarious.
yeah.
Doing it at work here.
Gonna bring some 270 questions to you. Today's an exciting topic. I know that a lot of new players reach out to me quite frequently and ask, what candidates do you use? You know, who are some good vice presidents? Is a vice president worth it? You have to pay 99 cents every time. You get the same questions. So I brought in one of the most popular loungers, and that is Nathan Williams. He goes by the username The Lone Ranger, and he is a really good player. So I'm interested to talk to him today, get his perspectives. But Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you have been playing the game.
So Nathan Williams on the lounge, obviously, and I also do the new candidate Mondays things. I just did Amy Coney Barrett's today. She's really powerful, by the way, and that was surprising. She's going to be good. I have played since launch. I believe I actually was playing a different mobile game and got this as an advertisement back in 2016 because that's when this game first was launched, and I've been playing since then, on and off. I think I might have taken a break for a couple months, here and there, just for, various, family reasons, work, whatever. But I always find myself back here. So, and I think I've been in the lounge for over maybe about a year and a half. I think it was active a while before I knew about it. And then I joined and, been there ever since. So awesome. I played for a very long time.
Yep. No, I know there are a lot of roles that people have in the lounge, whether that be someone who joins and doesn't comment or someone who takes on a role like you've been doing the new candidate Monday. So as someone who posts a lot in the lounge, I do appreciate, what you bring to the table. Who are some of your favorite candidates and do you tend to play as a Republican, Democrat? Doesn't really matter to you?
That matters to me based on who I'm playing against. So if I'm doing a 1v1, it's very, very, if they are using a non-free-to-play character, right, as a Democrat or Republican, that is when I will generally pick the opposite. So for example, if they use a Michelle Obama, I will generally pick like an Abraham Lincoln. So if you have that, now if you're just a free-to-play player, it all comes down to strategy, quite honestly. Even if you're picking a very, very powerful candidate, if you don't know how to play that candidate and maximize their bonuses while staying away from their penalties, or maybe picking a vice president that might even help their penalties sometimes, then it's not going to matter. There's still a strategy aspect. I have seen, and I beat people just for the heck of it. And I actually had somebody ask me in the lounge the other day. They said, "I'll play you, but you have to pick an independent with no bonuses or penalties." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." We haven't played that game yet. That'd be fun to stream. But I've done that, and I have beat people. I have beat. And I don't know how good this player actually was, but this is to the example. I have used independent Trump with no bonuses or penalties and beat an Obama with a vice president. And it wasn't a close game because the person had a great candidate, but didn't play them right. So now my favorite candidate, regardless, is just Crooked Hillary. And that is not partisan. That's just because she's overpowered. She's extremely overpowered. Her town and gown's 101,000. So if you get that, not only if you get that, it appears to your opponent that you're stacking up a lot of money. That's the great thing about candidates that have large bonuses is it's not so much the actual money, it's what it looks like to your opponent, and what they see your total funds can definitely dictate what they do. So
for sure. And I lost my first ever match to Bart Childers. He was the best player like I'd never lost to forever and ever. He's a really good player. But he beat me because I over defended in California because he saved, and like I knew he had a ton of town and gown, but I didn't want to lose on the ballot because he one pit past me in California. But he overtook me in all these oil states. And we all have our tendencies. Bart, I'm going to give you a tip on this one. I've noticed that you always go for the oil states that are at the end of the alphabet, like West Virginia and Wyoming, because you like to be at the end. So you might.
I'm taking notes here. No.
Yeah, you might want to fix that for your next games. But yeah, we all have our different strategies. We all have different characters that gravitate toward us. So what I'm excited to do today is talk to you about some of the candidates that you compiled as like the top 5 president and vice president combinations. And so this list, it's subjective. Obviously, you have bonuses that you like better. I'll talk about some of the characters I like as well. But just to kind of give people, this is more of a 1v1 setup,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this is a 1v1 setup, and it's interesting when you said that, because I was just I'm on the app right here, everybody, just for reference, and I was actually in the lounge, and there was a 5-person game with like 4 Democrats. I really wanted to jump in it as like crooked, or as including Trump with Kellyanne Conway as my VP.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely for 1v1. And as a few times I know other top players have as well, if you're playing somebody good, going for a national group in a 1v1 is just a waste. You are giving the other person way too much time. You're not pressuring them to get a group like Old South. You can get swing states in 3 turns. You can piggyback Old South off swing states, and if they get that and you only have 1 or 2 national groups, it's not worth it. You're going to find yourself behind. So yeah, this is definitely a list for 1v1 games. Of course, the strategy changes when multiple people are in the game, regardless, and it matters what party they are. So
awesome. Well, I am sharing my screen here.
I like that. I didn't see these titles before. That's why I laughed. Brendan has not shared these titles with me of what he's calling these, but it's a pretty good title.
Yeah, because, in what world in 2020 do we see Biden and Trump 2020 coming together as a team? Like,
well,
what's up with that?
It's 2020. I guess anything can happen. And I think this kind of shows how good both of these candidates are in this game. This is a perfect way of showing that. So you cannot use Trump for Biden's VP because Trump is the president. And quite honestly, I don't know if this will change. I know we asked Alexander on one of the
town halls
that we did if this would change. They said they don't know what their plan is. If what I'm saying, guys, is if Biden wins the presidency, will they have to change if he can be someone's VP? For people who don't know, that's the rule. A former president cannot be a vice president. So, but on this combination, yeah, it's great. So a lot of these Trump 2020 players love to go Old South and swing states first. And what we were just talking about is you can piggyback those. So the traditional Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Louisiana, if you get those for Old South, all you need is Florida and Wisconsin, and you have swing states. That is 2 groups with over 30% of a bonus. So it's really, really great. And then, of course, everybody likes to piggyback that off, to Texas for manufacturing. And then, of course, Trump's 20% oil and gas. Now, it's not going to be super easy to get all those because you're playing against a good player. They're going to start to see what you're going to do. And they're probably, unless it's a 1-minute timer, they're going to look at this tab when they're playing against you before they even make their first move to try to see what you're going to do. So you might run into some problems if you try to pack up on all those bonuses like I just said. You got to play a little bit safe, but those bonuses are great. If you can get groups, you're probably not going to lose too many of them just because his bonuses are so high.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I do the same thing. I'll click on the characters tab. I'll see what, I wonder, I don't play against Queen Elizabeth very often. I don't play against some characters like the new candidate Monday, the new Supreme Court justice. I've never played against her before. So I would like, oh, she's good at this particular bonus. And so with a vice president, that adds an instant flavor. And I will say when you're playing multiplayer matches, we're doing 1v1s right now, but like I always tend to go after people who have that vice president or be wary of them. You kind of put a target on your back a little bit by having an extra bonus. There's kind of been some controversy in the past with people forfeiting because someone has a vice president. You can forfeit on turn 1. I'd say that's okay etiquette. There's nothing super wrong with that. But
yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, but and if someone did it to me, I don't care. But just be mindful of like the mechanics of the game, and if you have new questions or questions as a new player, feel free to ask some vets in the lounge. They can help you with that. But I will add that my favorite vice president to add to Trump 2020 is actually the current vice president in real life. So if you add Pence to Trump 2020, it gives you an evangelical bonus of 50%. It does boost his Old South. And the third bonus is not super important to me, but it just kind of gives me that evangelical, like quick national group. And I know that's the Javier Rodriguez special. He taught me that one. So that's my favorite one. The next picture here.
And it bumps oil and gas to 35%, which is great.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's the third one.
Yeah. That's and that is great for Trump, especially Texas, because you have manufacturing, then your oil, and it just. it can quickly go downhill for your opponent if they're not playing a pristine game against a combination like that. Either one of those two.
Yeah, for sure. I have to make sure I've got my next picture ready here. So I've got to get out, unshare, share screen.
And I've toyed with the combination, the Trump and Pence, a couple times, and I'm always on the edge. I'm like, do I go for evangelicals or not? But that 50% bonus, I look at that, I'm like, man, I can't ignore that. Maybe I need to go for it.
People, and I don't know if you've done this at all, Nathan, but I mean, you got to treat it like an investment. And what's the break, even point? And I know that I've tracked my last 500 games. My average turn is 13.4. So I don't play really long games.
Yeah, me either.
And again, there are games where they can go longer, and then it becomes more of a thing. So it just depends on your play style. And so again, national groups can be more for multiplayer, but it also could be 1v1. You just have to know what your game, how you, if you like playing from behind or playing from ahead. And I personally don't like playing from behind unless
I don't either.
Unless I really have to.
Right.
There are some instances, if I'm playing a brand new candidate, I'd rather play from an opponent, not a candidate. I'd rather play from behind and make them either overspend or kind of cut them off in some ways. But even then, I don't feel great about it. But I'd rather kind of have that knowledge.
And it's also a good way to kind of see their tendencies if they take a state or try to defend a state. How far do they go up? How many pips do they go up? And that's very good to focus on for any new players that might be that will watch this. Is if you're playing against somebody, and other loungers have said this, be prepared to lose a group. It's okay to lose a state group for 1 or 2 turns. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure if there's a danger of losing that group, if you actually think there is, spend all you have in that group on other states that you do not have locked down. Exactly. So if I have the classic Old South, right, and I have 100,000, 120,000 of Old South money saved up, and my opponent is pressuring every single one, you can maybe defend the ones you already have, maybe like 1 or 2 pips if you know their tendencies. But if you don't, put a pip or 2 in the rest of the Old South states. So if they do take it, you have a path. And what they've done is just waste money to take a bonus away from you for a turn, and it's not worth it for them. So
exactly,
this is a great combo, though.
There's a difference in spending cash versus spending bonus funds. Even if you lose or whatever, it's everyone gets $250,000 of straight cash. What you do with that is up to you. So, not only just like a particular bonus, but like the Old South is so crucial to African American, and just being in those states now, or when the ballot round comes, there are a lot of new players who finally get the grasp of how to get bonuses, but yet they don't learn when to expand out, and they're kind of maybe a half a turn behind. And I can win with 4 bonuses to your 6 because I have gotten across the map. I can block in some certain key points, and so that's kind of next step of getting to be a better player. So
that's an advanced course.
It's not an art. It's kind of, it's not a science. It's more of an art. Some players like to go 2 pips past you. Some people go 1. Some people close off the state.
Yeah, some people will just go for it. I noticed a lot of the people I've been playing lately that will go for national groups in 1v1s. That's what they'll do. They will
all the way
get all that money, and then I'm just like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll just go somewhere else,
Exactly. And I think that what you were talking about earlier with the timers, 1-minute timers, you have to do that a little bit more unless you are really fast with your fingers or clicking. I can't play on Steam. I have to do it on my phone with 1-minute timers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll pick up on tendencies, and that'll help you. Moving on to number 4 here. Sorry, we've got Barack Obama and Elon Musk. So why do you like this combo?
So I really, really like this combo because everything, honestly, and this could be maybe the downfall of the combo as well, but everything with Obama goes through New York. Every really, really good combo goes through New York. You could say California, and I'd pick California to close second, but New York's really that first state to get up to 3 pips that you start to feel comfortable about. And it's because his town and gown is 25%, which is nice, but you can easily, if you get New York and then the classic town and gown states of Massachusetts and Utah, all you need is Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire to get high tech, and that's $155,000 bonus with Elon Musk And if they try to press you in any high-tech states, you can easily use that high-tech money to do a PIP in California and just, and just get the bonus that way. I
or
also really like
or Maryland and some of the African American Virginia. It's so if you give Obama New York, you are in for a world of hurt.
True, because that African American is extremely high, and it makes sense as it should be. But yeah, and New York, if I'm going for African American, I'd much rather have New York than Florida. I will just say that it's much easier of a path. And then also, it's not listed just because Obama has so many ridiculous bonuses. But the third bonus that Elon Musk gives Obama is a 12% manufacturing-based bonus. So that actually that cuts into his penalty. And we talked about that at the beginning of the video. Sometimes it's good to pick a vice president that not only boosts bonuses, but cuts into penalties. I think I've seen people do that with Richard Nixon. They'll use a Michelle Obama VP to negate the African-American penalty because they like going Old South and African-American. But I really like this combo because the Latino is already high enough. I don't think that needs any sort of a boost. But if you get New York and California, all you need is New Jersey and Nevada for Latino. And if you're there, if you have those 4 states plus the town and gown states, you're looking at 3 bonuses, and those 3 bonuses give you an insane amount of money for Obama.
That's a very great multiplayer strategy to get those bonuses and just sit.
Yep, and just sit there
tactics
until someone pressures you, and then if you have enough to safely defend those states, do that. But again, it's at least I don't, and I don't think you do either. We don't like putting all of that money that we've saved up in one state to defend it, in 1 or 2 states. We like branching out because, especially multiplayer games, because if you just do one state, someone else might sneak in the back door and go to one of those other states that you might needed to hold on to that bonus. So it's always really, really good to branch out, unless they're only touching one state in the group and you have enough money to defend it, then just defend it.
Absolutely. And I'll say 1v1, kind of like what you're talking about earlier with like trends, and if you play against someone and they're really good, it's very, very popular to go New York, Massachusetts, and Utah. Don't be afraid to change it up once in a while, and maybe your opponent will try to clash with you and they'll overspend, or give yourself some options. You can get high tech, town and gown in 3 turns. You can get high tech in 4 turns, but just because you don't get it on that 3rd or 4th turn, if your opponent is overspending to try to prevent that, and they don't get their swing state bonus to turn 5, it's okay. You have to read each game differently, and the higher the bonuses, we're talking 50% African American. You can make Obama's African American 70%, with certain candidates. But like this, you're looking 35 Latino, 55 high tech, 45 export driven, which I know export driven is not one of the bread and butter bonuses, just because it does involve a lot of important states, but like, it's such a small bonus, and you've already got a lot of other bonuses. It's a great bonus to have at the end of the game if it doesn't like cost you an arm and a leg to get it.
You're probably not going to lose or win a game because you don't have or do have export driven. Because if you have enough to get export driven, you probably have so many other bonuses that are fueling your money, at that point.
But don't start like the game trying to get export.
No, I've seen people do that. They'll do like 1 pip in the big 4, and I'm just like, well, this is going to be easy. I don't like it though, because I'm like, this is so easy to counter. I kind of wanted the fun game, you know what I mean? But so sometimes I'll challenge myself. I'll let him get California and Texas and be like, all right, now it's a real challenge,
Yeah, for sure. Get the next combo up here. It is did a pair there it is. Michelle Obama with Andrew Yang as a vice president.
Yin Yang gang.
The Yin Yang gang. I tried to come up with some clever names, but no,
you did that quick.
I know. Yeah. No, but Andrew Yang, he's a candidate that I just played a lot with the Democrat versus Republican tournament, and he was my candidate of choice. He's, a pretty standard Democrat, not over the top. But what I have noticed, Nathan, is that you are choosing a lot of candidates that are giving you 3 state group bonuses and not national group. And this is exactly what Yang does here with Michelle.
Yeah, so Michelle has some really, really good bonuses. Of course, not as good as her husband. But, she has the same bonuses, just not the percentages. The great thing about Michelle, though, that her husband does not have is a swing state bonus. That's very, very good. You actually taught me this. So if you go into a game as Michelle or Obama or whoever, and your opponent sees, okay, they're going to try to go New York. So they go New York for the first turn and you guys clash there. What a lot of people do, and you can do this very, very well with Michelle, is go to swing states. If you put 1 pip in Wisconsin, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida, you can get exactly swing states the next turn. And with Yang as the vice president, it's 100. I think it actually comes out to 131.5 thousand. I have no idea why 270 does that. I know it's not an exact 132, or maybe it's 132.5. I don't know, but it's a great bonus. And sometimes your opponent seeing you get that can, and I've taken advantage of this with a lot of good players. Sometimes they'll forget that you've clashed the first turn and you've entered up there, and when you get enough bonuses, you can just take it away and end the game. But the great thing I love about this candidate and this combination is it's so versatile. If your opponent tries to start blocking you, you can quickly just go somewhere else, you know. And swing state is such a good bonus to have. I think it's the most important in the entire game, and we've run polls on the lounge and people agree. So
yeah, no, I agree, and for that reason, like I think Michelle Obama is a better candidate than Barack. It depends on how you play. It depends on, every game is different, but I at least I'll say maybe not better. She's more versatile.
Right. She is.
But yeah, this is a great combination. I don't really have too much to add, although I do want to say there was one time I was playing George Fry and it was a tournament game. We clashed New York, turn 1. We clashed Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Wisconsin, turn 2. Turn number 3, we clashed in Arizona, Iowa, and New Hampshire. Turn 4, we clashed. Like we just like we didn't have anything that didn't clash. Turn 5, we clashed in Louisiana and Maryland.
Oh my
gosh. And at that time we had I don't remember, 400, 500. We had like a ton of cash, and like it was turn 6, and no one was
votes.
I'm like freaking out because this is a 1-minute timer tournament match against George Fry, and I'm like, what do you do? Do I triple pip New York? Do I try to get swing states? And
if you do the wrong thing, you can screw yourself over. I mean, if you do the wrong thing when the other person has just as much money as you do and no groups,
and I don't remember what happened. I wish I could go back and remember, but George beat me that game. It was a pretty competitive game, but he's a great player. I always felt like a turn behind because I think I was pretty safe on whatever I did that turn 6, and I carried cash over. Mm-hmm. I think I might have double pipped Texas. I think I did. I think I did something that.
Well, what do you do? I mean, so you were going through that, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, because I think 1 or 2 times I have been rejected in the New York and in the swing state thing, and when you see. It happened to me though with someone I did not recognize their name, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, this person came to play, because if they know this tactic and they're doing it well, then I'm going to be in for a game. And I don't remember if I won or lost. I've played so many games since I started playing 4 years ago, but those games, that's when you're like, okay, buckle up. This probably will come down to the ballot, so.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So that's just my quick story, but I'm going to go ahead and get the next person here.
And another thing, you said that Michelle Obama at first you said is better, than you said she's more versatile. I have actually found that using that Barack Obama strategy, and even with the Hillary Clinton vice president that you said, which is an amazing combination as well. It's terrific. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the game ends so fast you can't really capitalize on all the money you have built up, and that's you kind of have to weigh that. What's your strategy? How long are you wanting this game to last? Now, obviously, with an Obama VP and those insane numbers, the longer the game lasts, more it's going to benefit you as long as you have those. But this right here, this combination is this is my go-to. This is my absolute go-to, because I loved FDR, not politically. Same thing with Joe Biden. I loved Joe Biden, not politically, just in the game. Just because, manufacturing. And this is the great thing too. If your opponent sees that, you know what they do? A lot of times the first turn, they'll pip Texas. I don't spend, honestly, and I feel like I'm tipping my hand too good. I might have to switch my strategy after this video, but I won't spend anything with this combination the first turn. Because if I see them go to Texas, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just go swing states then, Mm-hmm. And you can use that swing state money. Sometimes you can go what do they call that? The hangman strategy of getting it the back door. Yeah.
That's why I named this. That's why I named it the Rust Belt Mighty Melt, because It's not really designed to go through Texas. If you get swing and manufacturing, you'll have so much money you can overtake someone who has Texas. Let alone, high tech is underrated to get I wouldn't say backdoor, but if you can kind of get the Pennsylvanias and the Marylands and Virginias and some of those states first, and then you pip over to California, like, you can catch your opponent off guard. And even if they like are guns ablazing toward defending Texas, like now all of a sudden you've got swing states, you've got manufacturing, you've got high tech. And then you know what? Then you can use some of that high tech money and go to New York, and your opponent's going to go to New York and go, well, crap, he's already got Florida, and he's already got California. I've got Texas. I have to get to New York. Well, you've got bonuses there and your opponent doesn't. It's just a snowball. I will say that I don't know, and I don't know how this combination compares, but like an FDR, like Frederick Douglass, have you seen that combination before?
It is a good combination. It boosts his manufacturing. It gives him a 20% African American, and it also boosts his export driven. But it gives him a 15% penalty in agriculture. So that's not. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, agriculture is nice. I mean, bonuses are always nice. But I've never lost a game in my 4 years of playing because I didn't or did have agriculture. Same thing with export driven. Oil and gas, I won't say that because oil and gas is very important. But it is a good bonus. It just honestly depends on your strategy. And
Yeah,
I was
so
actually just going to...
You're choosing swing states in this case over African American.
Right, and I was just going to piggyback off what you were, because you said, oh gosh, my opponent has California, I got Florida. Most people are not going to want a Texas and a New York. They are not going to want to have those two. If you had to pick two of the big four, most people are going to pick California, New York, California, Texas, New York, Florida, for the...
Unless your name is Jeff Ray.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I will say this, if you did use Frederick Douglass instead of Joe Biden, that is a time in which New York and Texas would be good, because Texas, you're manufacturing, and with New York, that 20% African American bonus. I mean, he doesn't have a penalty on town and gown. The only penalty he has is Old South. I mean, FDR is an amazing candidate without a vice president. He is one of the most underrated candidates in this game, and he's been in the game for a long time, and he's been one of the best candidates for a long time. He's very, very versatile too with Michelle Obama. It's just, if you get California and Texas, I'm sorry, if you get California and Texas as FDR, the game's probably over. I mean, it's going to be very, very tough to beat him.
Even in 1v1, it takes a long time to get there. And I will say that if you can delay Latino, that's maybe a game saver. If you can catch someone going 200, 200, 200, kind of minimal spending, and then they try to one pip in New Mexico, like if you can block that. But at the same time, you've got to like maximize your money on the East Coast and get swing and get manufacturing, and it's not a fun thing to give FDR.
No, it's not.
That going back to multiplayer, that's a great, any candidate, if they have Texas and California, like that's a strong combo. But if you give FDR that is asking for trouble for sure.
Yeah, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot there. Just the bonuses are just so insane from those states.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you see the next comp? Did it pop up right away?
Nope, it's still an FDR or Biden.
Okay, cool. I'm learning the
Rust Belt, Mighty Melt.
Yeah,
Man, these, I tell you what, do you have a generator for these? It's your brain, right? You're coming up with these names really good.
Yeah, I just this one's just kind of the Lincoln Project, because I didn't want to get too Abraham Lincoln. He's if you've ever seen the epic rap battles in history, I love Abraham Lincoln.
I have. Yeah. I just watched the Biden-Trump one the other day in Walmart. I liked it, and I think every time I've watched the new one, it does grow on me. As someone who, and I am biased as a someone who's voting for Trump, I think Biden got a lot more airtime. But I mean, it's just one of those things. I think it's 2020. What do you expect?
Yeah, but
it's 2020.
It's 2020, exactly. But I will say they both had good lines both ways, and there was kind of a tradition of Abraham Lincoln coming in at the end of the video with Obama and Romney in 2012, and then with Hillary and Trump in 2016. And so I was waiting for it in 2020, and it didn't quite happen. But that's okay. But no, so in Lincoln, Trump, one of the most ironic things is that he kind of claims Abraham Lincoln as a Republican. Maybe heard some of his speeches.
Right.
Although today I would venture to guess that he would probably vote Democrat.
I would venture to guess today as well. And he would be one of those. He kind of reminds me of like he'd kind of be one of the like Deval Patrick kind of Democrats, which is a Democrat in the game who has a manufacturing and African American bonus. It's a very rare, it's a very, very rare combination of bonuses to have, but it works great with Joe Biden. And this is a perfect example of when you are totally fine getting New York and Texas as the two of your big four. It actually would work out better because he has a high-tech penalty. But the great thing about Lincoln
which is annoying because
it is.
I will say Lincoln, like there are some really good Abraham Lincoln players out there. Abraham Lincoln is a stacked candidate. I wouldn't call him overpowered, but he can make up for some like efficiency flaws, like just with his bonuses. But if you are relying on California for Abraham Lincoln, you're going to have a bad time with his 20% oil and gas and 20% high-tech penalties.
Yeah, he doesn't really have anything that's pertinent to California aside from export driven, and we already talked about that. If you go into a game looking for that as your target bonus, probably going to lose 99% of the games you play because that you shouldn't be going for that. I guess he has Latino and Ag, but they're just so small. I think the great thing about Lincoln is you can do the classic New York thing that you do with Obama. You can go the New York, and like you said, you can switch it up. You can go Massachusetts, Nebraska. That's the cheapest way. Now, if you're going for high tech, you should not go that way because Nebraska does not help you with high tech. But you can go, sometimes I'll go Minnesota, Iowa. Sometimes I'll do Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Iowa. Arizona, Iowa, New Hampshire. The great thing is, and you get to 25% town and gown bonus. So you can do the classic town and gown. You can switch to swing states. You can go for African American. If your opponent hasn't gone into Texas, you can go into Texas. There's just the great thing about the candidates, I think, on this list, aside from Obama is a very, especially with Elon Musk as his vice president, he's a very, this is my goal. I'm getting these bonuses in this many turns. I'm doing this next. It's a very, if your plan works, you're probably going to win. If it doesn't, you better be really good at figuring out what you're going to do next. Mm-hmm. But with everybody after Obama, you can switch. If your opponent is just being kind of pesky and they're not getting any bonuses themselves, but they just keep trying to, or they're going national groups and just trying to take away your bonuses, you can spread the board out and put yourself in a very, very good position.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with that. And versatility is important, but so is strength. And it's kind of one of those things you have to know as a player. Maybe when you're first experimenting, you might, try I don't know. What do you think? I would recommend a strength bonus maybe at first and maybe focus on that and see how well that works for you. If I'm playing against a really high profile player, who I know, like if I'm playing against you, Nathan, I think I'd rather have a well-rounded candidate. Mm-hmm. But what do you think about for people who are first starting off? Do you have one that you'd recommend?
Well, again, a candidate if you're a free-to-play player, and you don't have the subscription, you don't have a VP, I think a really, really good candidate, just kind of getting into the game, is John McCain. John McCain is very, very well-rounded. As you said, he's one of the him and Kristen Gillibrand, not that this matters, only candidates in the game that get a labor and environment and big conservative boost. So now you're not going to go for that, but it's kind of interesting. With the reason I bring that up is because the fact that he has those two bonuses is probably the reason that he has a bonus in literally almost everything else. And his penalties are really, really small. They're not bad at all. And it always seems like I can be playing with crooked Hillary as Hillary is my vice president and be getting groups left and right. And every John McCain I play against seems to have like $1 million after like 7 turns. And I'm like, okay, they always are able to save so much money for a free-to-play player. I wouldn't go with people like Ted Cruz unless you just like Ted Cruz. Free Hillary is better than Free Bernie. Free Bernie, again, I feel like is very targeted. There's a very Free Hillary. Surprisingly, she's pretty good. And we've actually seen some complaints in the lounge about her being overpowered. And I feel like those people haven't seen Crooked Hillary if they think she's overpowered.
Yeah. Here's my tangent. People who know me or who have listened to my videos probably know this, but I don't mind I think that if you send a feedback message, they will listen. But it just seems like some of the numbers are random. And I don't mind a bad candidate. Like
they are.
People were complaining the other day who came out. It wasn't Candace Owens. It was,
was it the one before her?
who, like who
Shirley
is
Chisholm.
Tim? Yeah, Chisholm. Well, no, Chisholm was good. Tim Kaine, you know,
I don't know what they were doing on Tim Kaine. And
but
then
and who else? So, but like people like that. But like in my honest opinion, like it's great Michelle Obama. She's a really great candidate, but she's never run for president. Why is someone like Michelle Obama such an OP? And I know it's based off of kind of now and whatever, but like the Stone is one of my favorite candidates. Very well rounded, very good bonuses, but like he hasn't
he
run for
hasn't even gotten
president.
into politics. Yeah.
And Ronald Reagan, I'm not, I
I'm
wasn't
looking at his
alive when
stats right now because I was gonna bring up Ronald Reagan.
Ronald
Yeah,
Reagan
he's
I wasn't even alive when he was president. I get like a lot of Republicans, they tend to give them more national groups. And that's kind of a trend. I mean, other than Crooked Hillary, and like RBG, she's, very strong women's movement, Bill de Blasio, but like, the balance, and you're not going to like please everybody, don't get
no,
me.
you're not. But I would say a president like Ronald Reagan, who won 2 terms, both elections were landslides. The second one more than the first, which shows that as he was president, he got more popular, is worse in the game than Michelle Obama, who has not done anything politically, has even said, I don't want to get involved in politics, other than my husband being president. And
Right.
that's good enough for me.
And I get
I
it's a
don't
game.
understand it.
And they have to make money. Like I get why, like you have Michelle Obama, why you have someone like Kanye West. I mean, at least he ran for president. Like there's a reason he's in the game. But
president.
But yeah, I think they need to make Ronald Reagan just a little bit stronger. I do want to show. I know I can't remember if I had this graphic up of the last. Let's see.
I also have to show this really quick because we're talking about bonuses and penalties going weird. So I have mentioned this so many times, but I want to show it in your video. That's Beto O'Rourke. He has a bonus in African American and Latino, but he also has a negative in both of those groups in primary mode.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I have sent them feedback messages on this saying, how can he have a bonus in African American and Latino, and then he's got a penalty in the same group? Not that I have never played against Beto O'Rourke, so I'm not saying this is like a big deal, but I think it just kind of goes to show that. And I don't want to hate on the 270 admins. They have a lot of work to do. They have made an amazing game. I love the game. It's amazing. But I think sometimes these bonuses, I don't know if they're thrown together at last minute, or maybe someone that does the bonuses doesn't do the penalties, or maybe they do them on separate days, because I think I had this conversation. You said bonuses are being randomly given to people. Tammy Duckworth in Illinois. I mean, she's an Army vet. She lost both of her legs in combat. Really, really respected woman. But she's got like 30% swing state bonus. She's a senator from Illinois. That's not,
right.
How do they know if she ran on the national stage?
Like
she would have 30% bonus.
As a Republican, like registered, like John McCain. How did he do in 2008 in all the swing states?
Horribly.
And he's the one of the free candidates in the game that has a swing state bonus. Like I get, right. I get you want to have versatile candidates, but I mean it's kind of a battle of how accurate you want to be with. I get it, but it's frustrating for people who take this seriously. And I know you do the new candidate Mondays, like you're invested time and energy into the game. So
I take it very seriously. It bothers me too. And I love these combinations. And Fred Banks, who is is it Yang Gang? Is that his? He loves the first two because he loves going Old South and African American. I actually sent him these screenshots before this conversation, and I think he changed his profile picture to Jimmy Carter with MLK for a while there because he was using that. He's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But yeah, very I guess underappreciated and underrated is Jimmy Carter with MLK. Jimmy Carter by himself doesn't really have any penalties that are important except oil and gas, but you're not going that route with Jimmy Carter anyway, so that doesn't really matter. He is one of the few candidates with an Old South bonus as an African American bonus, and with MLK, his African American bonus is as good as Obama's. So, I mean, it's really good to go that classic Old South, and then after classic Old South, this is going to be helpful to people. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi is where I go, and then either Delaware or DC, and you can get those after you get the Old South. You can get those other states I just listed in 2 turns and give you African American and Old South, and you'd be surprised. I was, I guess I've been saying your opponent's not going to let you get that. that is a combination, because sometimes your opponent doesn't realize what you're doing. They think, oh, okay, they're just going somewhere. Now a really good player is going to know what you're doing. But that's a combination that I would say that I get without conflict and without pressure. I would say 7 out of 10 times, in just normal lounge games.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the same strategy with Andrew Jackson and MLK. You're just kind of switching off the African American bonus not being as good for the higher Old South that Andrew Jackson gets. And quite honestly, I am extremely shocked that Andrew Jackson does not have a penalty in both of those groups that MLK gives him. I think he definitely needs to. With his Trail of Tears history, if you look at his quotes, he's definitely not a fan of African Americans. I guess it's a different time, so it's different, but it's very shocking to me that he doesn't have a negative in those groups, but it makes the MLK combination work. So I'm kind of advocating against myself here. And then, of course, the last thing, I think you showed me this possible combination.
So yeah, this is Kirk.
I love it.
Yeah, Kirk and Hillary with a Hillary Clinton vice president, which I know the first time I saw this in an actual lobby game, I was like, wait, how did they do this?
Someone's hacking the game.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's 2 different candidates, and so again, it's 3 bonuses that are state groups. So you got your African American, Latino, and high tech. I personally, I'm not a big Crooked Hillary person. I have, I've used this combination before. I tend to use, when I play tournament games, I use a Barack Obama with a Hillary Clinton, so the free Hillary, and that gives me the same bonuses. It gives me a slightly higher across the board, actually. Plus, I just prefer Obama as a candidate to Crooked Hillary. And
yeah, it gives you a bonus in everything better, except town and gown. Obama's is 25 versus 35. So, but it's not a huge difference.
Yeah,
but
and that's not a huge difference. And again, you can play from New York. I know that really, I've had to learn how to play without New York with that, especially in tournament games, just because people will, they'll have a Trump 2020, and they find themselves going New York to, I'll go Florida, I'll change it up, or I'll go, I'll zero spin, and all of a sudden they're going for town and gown, which is one of their weakest bonuses.
I hate that.
But
so much.
People have their own strategies, but
that's true.
Anyway, that's just kind of a killer combination. I do want to.
I use Crooked Hillary a lot, and you know this. I love Crooked Hillary, and I not as again nothing that we're saying in this video other than the things that you've said. I'm kind of biased, kind of thing. Nothing that I'm saying about these candidates has anything to do with their real life personas. I am not saying I support them politically. This is just in the game. I love playing as Hillary in the game. And I love playing as Obama in the game too, but I also love playing as Trump 2020 in the game. So it's not political. These candidates are just really good.
I like to do historical things, like battles, I know Tyler DeMore and I did Kanye West versus George Bush. Jason Case and I did. We've done John Kerry versus George Bush. We've done, but the thing is with the VPs you mentioned earlier. You can't have a vice president of someone who is a president. So it makes it makes it a little bit harder to do that. And eventually the game will maybe come out with more modes or different time frames. Again, and I'm sure it will change after the election, but the game is centered in 2016. So
I'm not looking forward to that because I have all my math down. Bart does too. I bet Bart's going to hate that. Bart, no, when you said they're going to, man, if they do change that, or if they give you an option. Now, if they give you an option, I'm going to be one of those people that's just gonna be I'm playing with what I know. I'm not doing this new stuff until a chart comes out, and I can kind of map a strategy. But it's taken. I mean, we know that, Matt, from the last. If you've been playing, as long as you've been playing for how long? A couple of years? Months.
So I've been playing for 4 years, off and on.
Okay. So we have that map in our head. We can probably, we're at this point, we don't even have to be near our phone, and we can say, I need this for this. I need that. We can. I'm looking at these 2020 maps for the election tomorrow. I have myself thinking, okay, what candidate would get what if they got the, you know what I mean? That's what this game will do to you, which
I love making a parody video. If once someone gets a bonus, when it was declared that Biden gets New York and California, he gets the high-tech bonus.
That'd be kind of cool. Hey, if 270 was sponsored on the news channel, I'm sure they would do that. This is brought to you by 270, Yeah. But so those are just some of the VP combos and the good.
For sure. I'm going to share one more quick thing here. I'm going to plug your, as soon as it pops up here. I'm not very good at the sharing screen kind of thing. What do you see on your end?
I see my Twitter handle.
Yeah, you want to talk about your Twitter?
Yeah. So, and I'm not biased on there. Some of the comments I'll go for certain, people on the tweets and replies, but my tweets are all just election coverage. I've been running it not for very long. I think I have like 400 followers, so I haven't run it too horribly long. But the logo on there, I did make myself actually. I made myself. Yeah. I mean, it's put. You can tell it's put together by somebody who made it themselves and wasn't a company. But I just do, daily polls. I try to give updates. Definitely tomorrow night, I am going to be putting out probably, 20 to 25 tweets an hour, if not more. So I would love a follow if you guys, might not be sitting in front of your TV tomorrow, but still want election coverage. I only tweet relevant stuff. I'm not going to be tweeting clickbait, anything like that. I'm not going to be throwing a million hashtags in my post. It's just all pure information so people can see what's going on with the election, but it's all election based. So tomorrow there's going to be results. There'll be polls throughout the day before the polls close, exit poll, just all that kind of stuff that you might care about if you actually are invested in politics outside of 270. So
Awesome.
Would love a follow.
Yeah, no, awesome. Well, go ahead and follow Nathan at the Political HQ, and that'll be good. I appreciate you hopping on, Nathan. We'll wrap up in just a second, but I do want to ask you. I know we were talking a little bit before we got on air, so you can be as much in depth or whatever. But do you have any predictions? How you think tomorrow will go? Do you think it'll be like we'll know tomorrow? Do you think it'll be after that? Are there certain states that you are kind of feel better about for one side or the other side, or what do you think about tomorrow? Like, is in a vacuum?
So I think overall, will we know tomorrow night? That depends on what states get called for who. So if anybody does care about this stuff really, really deeply, which of course, if they're staying for this part, they do. The New York Times, they did this in 2016. They had this little meter, and it's called the needle. And it sticks right in the middle.
95% Donald Trump. The
So
Young Turks were going crazy.
Oh, yeah, they were losing. I'm sorry, Democrat or Republican. We've already discussed who I'm voting for this time. I still like watching that video because it's funny. Regardless of political,
So for the record, I'm voting for Donald Trump, and I voted for Donald Trump last time.
Right.
Would you
And
like to
I voted for Trump last time. I'm voting for Biden this time. So we are on opposite sides. Well, probably not. We probably agree much more than people would think. This country's not as divisive as the national politics would have you believe. But I still like watching videos like that. But they're not doing that this year. They're just doing it for Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. And the only reason why they're only doing it for those states is because those states not only report their votes quickly, but they report what kind of votes they are, right? So Florida's going to say we have this percentage of our today's votes, we have this much percentage of our absentee, and this much percentage of our mail-in votes. Other states don't do that. So I would caution people, if you see Trump up by 5 to 10% in Pennsylvania tomorrow, don't think he's got it in the bag if you're a Trump person, and don't think, oh gosh, it didn't this is the worst night ever if you're a Biden supporter, because Pennsylvania is not counting any of their mail-in votes until their election day vote is counted. So are we going to know tomorrow night?
Maybe.
If Trump wins Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida, no, we will not know who is the winner tomorrow night. But if he wins those three, you're going to have a lot of very, very excited Trump people and a lot of very, very nervous Biden people, especially if those margins are really far in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If Biden picks off one of those three that I just listed, the Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, then you have a lot of nervous Trump people and a lot of very hopeful Biden people, because as you and I were talking about, these states are not like their own country. They fall like dominoes, and they did it in 2016. And 2020 is not 2016, but they will fall like dominoes again. They always do. States fall like dominoes.
There's a lot of correlation with the demographics, and I don't claim to be an expert. To touch on what you were saying about Pennsylvania, I hope that the Supreme Court doesn't get involved. Like, I want a clean and fair election. Like, I don't want voter fraud. I don't want voter suppression. Like, I just want people, and I encourage everyone, if you're watching this video and you have not voted yet, you have that right. do it, vote for who you think is the best person. And if that's a third party, don't let someone voter shame you for where you live or for what you believe in.
Right.
A lot of my friends are voting third party, and now I live in a state, Missouri, that's probably going to go red. But who knows? There's
Right.
we
Yeah.
live in a world today where, if a bunch of people woke up and decided not to vote, that could influence the outcome. And so,
Yeah, I mean, the three states that put Trump over the top, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in 2016, those were decided by a combined 90,000 votes. So don't think your vote doesn't matter, because out of 137 million, 90,000 decided who was in the White House. And turnout's going to be insane this time. I mean, it will. They're looking at anywhere from 150 to 160,000 or 160 million total votes. So it's going to be, I mean, we're going to have massive, everybody's going to be up. Everybody, both sides are very engaged. They're very enthusiastic. The Democrats are more enthusiastic about getting Trump out, and the Republicans are more enthusiastic about keeping Trump in. So it's not, the enthusiasm is there. It's on different subjects, different things, but it's going to be some massive turnout. So I think we will have a very clear indication of who the winner is going to be, and we'll have a lot of paths. So there's a lot of paths out there to 270 for both candidates right now. Tomorrow at midnight, I would say, well, I guess technically that'd be Wednesday morning. Those paths are going to be very narrowed. The number of paths is going to be narrowed. If I am I guess, like I said, voting for Biden.
Amen.
Right. Yeah. My big concern right now would be Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is, of those three, first of all, it's the biggest electoral college prize, go figure, right? But it's the one that Biden's lead is the slimmest. I think 538's polling average has him about 5.9 or 4.95%.
I saw about 4.5 today is what I saw.
Yeah, and that's close. Now that's
Close to the margin of error. Too.
It is. Wisconsin and Michigan, honestly, I'll be totally honest, and this is, like I said, I might say, oh, I'm voting for this person here, you're voting, but on this Twitter account, and I'm just spitting straight facts. I'm not gonna pick a side. I'm not doing that, because that doesn't. When you start letting your biases help you predict things, when you're right, you're just going to be, all right, I knew it. My biases will increase. When you're wrong, though, you're going to think, wow, and you're going to get angry and you're going to get overwhelmed. So you have to look at this stuff objectively. So I would be very, very shocked, honestly, if Wisconsin or Michigan with Trump. Just from looking at the data from early voting, from where the turnout is, district level polling is a great thing to look at. And in 2016, that was the first indication that Hillary Clinton was in a lot of trouble in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, because she wasn't pulling the white working class votes that she needed. Now, Democrats don't win that. They used to. They don't win it now. But she wasn't pulling the margins that she needed to discount what Trump was pulling. And those are the same polls this time that are showing Trump underperforming in places like central Pennsylvania and the suburbs of Philadelphia. So polls can be wrong. Polls are wrong, but polls are just a small snapshot. That's why you can't look at one. You have to throw them all together. So we're going to see crazy turnout. If Biden wins one of those three, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, the election will be pretty. We'll have a good I guess, scope on the election. If Trump wins those three, we're in for another 2016, guys, and we don't know the results for the couple days.
Of those three states you mentioned, which do you think is most likely to go to Biden?
I think the least likely to go to Biden, I'll start there, would be Florida. I think Biden is not pulling in the numbers he needs to with Latinos in Florida. And I also think it's very concerning the Miami-Dade Broward Democratic vote. Now, who knows? I think we'll have crazy turnout on election day. I think we do. But polls have consistently shown that early voters are heavily Biden and election day voters are heavily Trump. And that they've done statewide polling as well. The same is true in Florida. So I think for Biden to win Florida, he's going to need some intense turnout in those counties with particularly non-white voters. I think Florida is one of those states where the suburbs kind of shifting a little bit, because whether you're a Trump supporter or Biden supporter, I think we can all realize the suburbs are slowly. In some states, it's much more obvious.
Right.
I don't think
Florida's suburbs is such a term. Like,
it is.
People have like a visual in their mind. Like Philadelphia's suburbs are not the same thing as suburbs in Arizona or
No.
And again, Florida, like you're mentioning, I'm not didn't mean to cut you off, but Florida in my mind, I think is one of those that if I I would say that is not securely Trump, but that is, of those three, the one that I would say is most likely going to go to Trump as well.
Right. If Biden was getting his Latino and African American support in those counties that Hillary Clinton got in 2016, and he was gaining among independents and teenagers like he is, then Florida would be, I mean, it would be scared. You'd be very scared in Trump camp. But the problem is Biden's not pulling those minority voters in that state as well. Now, he is pulling minority voters very, very well in Georgia. And that is if I had to say, I'd put Georgia, North Carolina kind of at the cusp. I honestly think, and this is my prediction, my wild prediction, I think Biden will do better in Georgia than he will in North Carolina. And the reason why is because they are really, really, I mean, they are spending millions of dollars. There's plenty of articles on this to pull out African-American support in Atlanta. They are sending, Obama's going there and he's probably like, oh my gosh, I thought I was done with this. He's been there. He's been in Georgia this past week a few times. Biden's been
Michigan next.
Yeah, they're working very, very hard to bring in that African-American vote. And like you just said, the suburbs aren't the same in Pennsylvania and Arizona. The African-American turnout and motivations are not the same in Florida as they are in Michigan, or in Georgia as they are in North Carolina. Even though those states are very close, different reasons and different political climates, different local issues pull voters out for certain reasons. And Georgia, this is why as well I think he'll do better in Georgia than North Carolina. Georgia has 2 Senate elections up right now. They have the special and they have the normal. The special election is the Kelly Loeffler and Doug Collins, the 2 Republicans who Trump is kind of like, I don't know which one to support. Yeah. But Raphael Warnock is an African-American pastor from Atlanta. Who does that remind you of? The African-American pastor kind of thing. I'm getting some MLK vibes. Not from Atlanta, but the point is that is going to help drive African-American vote. And Raphael Warnock is out there and saying, vote for me and vote for Joe Biden as well. North Carolina does not have a down ballot African-American that is running for a nationally politicized seat. You know what I mean? So I do think, and I think Biden's going to help Ossoff in the normal Senate race in Georgia get more support as well. So
do you know, I think do you know the last Democrat to win in Georgia? I don't. I should know. But was it Clinton?
Yeah, Clinton won Georgia. I believe I don't think it was re-election. I think it was his first one.
Because I mean, it's red. It's about as red, I wouldn't say as red as it gets, but it's deep south. I think Ross Perot, I think they split votes or something, but
yeah,
it's
Stacey Abrams
changing demographic, and even if it doesn't go blue this time, like it's something that it's a purple state. It's a state. It's a state that I know we talked about Arizona briefly, like that's one of the Phoenix area is one of the fastest growing areas in the country, and Texas. We haven't even talked about Texas.
Gosh, don't get me started there.
Yeah,
this video will be too long.
It's probably not going blue, but I'm not a hypocrite. Like if the Democrats had won the Electoral College and Trump had won I honestly, I support the Electoral College. I support states. Like, honestly, I wish states had even more rights than they do. That's just my belief. But it's the system we have in place, and Republicans are going to have a very hard time in the future with the changing demographics. It may not be this cycle, but it's definitely something that.
I'm just going to say that if let's say Trump does win the election, regardless of how close or not close it is tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday or whenever it's decided, Georgia is going to be competitive presidentially at 2024. At the Texas, I'd say 2028 is when that is really going to be looked at as we have a lot of numbers that are coming in this time around that shows Texas is going to be closer. Turnout is higher among everybody. I would be very shocked if Texas I would be completely shocked if Texas went for Biden. I'm just being honest. I think it's going to be a lower margin than 2016, but it was 9 points in 2016. So, lower margin could be 7 lower margin could be 2,
I'll say 5. That's my.
Yeah. But I will say
Beto lost Beto O'Rourke.
It was close. I think it was like 2 points. It was a close one, but that was a midterm. Trump's name wasn't above Ted Cruz's. That really fuels the turnout. I think a big concern, though, you're right. Republicans are really going to have to take a hard look in the mirror and realize what they need to, but policies wise, and who they're letting into the party and who they're not. When it comes to Texas becoming super, super diverse, and those big cities are getting even bigger. And I think the big concern with the, I guess, Trump campaign this time, if they did have any concern in Texas, is if you look at the rural counties where Trump is getting votes, when you look at their registered percentage and their turnout, there's not many votes they can squeeze out of those counties than they already have, especially in 2016. But that was a state Romney won by what was it, like 13, 14, 15 points? I mean, it was a bit, and then it went to 9, and then Beto won it by 2. So there's hopes there. But I will just say one more thing. Stacey Abrams in Georgia, going back to Georgia, she lost the governor's race in 2018 by 55,000 votes. And there was a lot of talk of suppression, this, fraud, that, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's not relevant right now. The point is she lost by 55,000 votes. And she did not squeeze all of the African-American votes that she could have out of Atlanta, which is kind of surprising. But she also didn't have the kind of support that Joe Biden does when it comes to independents. She didn't have the support Joe Biden does when it comes to the suburbs. And she didn't have the kind of support Joe Biden does when it comes to seniors. I'm not saying Joe Biden does amazing among seniors, but definitely better than Clinton did. So there's just so many dynamics.
Yeah.
And with turnout through the roof, I mean, you can only, I don't have a crystal ball, and no one does. Actually, there is Larry Sabato's crystal ball, but you know, even he gets it wrong sometimes. Yeah, right. So I just, man, if this was like every election's different. Every 4 years is different. People think 4 years is not a long time. It is. Politically, it is. It's a very long time. And demographics change, and people die, and people become 18.
And people
care,
can change their mind. And I know, like it was trending, like in the Google search, how do I change my vote? You know, I think that if Biden wins, it'll be at least as a sign for everyone, all Americans, that like people can be persuaded by information, whether that be you know, one side or whatever. Biden, he did really well in the South in the primaries. I think that's really what put him over the edge over Bernie. And I don't know this, but it'd be interesting to see, like, if Bernie was running, like, I mean, I think Bernie, like, he really appealed to people in the Rust Belt. Who knows? We'll never know. We'll have to stick to 270 to do those hypothetical matchups. But no, my official prediction. So I do have a little bit of money on the line. I took Donald Trump to win the presidency. I got some pretty decent odds. But I do think he'll squeak it out. I do think my bold prediction is that he will take Wisconsin. No, we differ on that one.
We do.
But I think that he will win Wisconsin. I think Biden will win Michigan. North Carolina, I really could see going either way. I think that ultimately could decide the election, because I think Ohio's squarely in Trump's camp.
We agree on that. And I actually give Trump a much better chance in Iowa than you do.
Yeah,
we were talking about that before.
I think that Iowa really is a toss-up. And I think that even if Biden like has a couple states not go his way, he will have a path to 270. You were mentioning that there was a combination where if he just gets Michigan, Wisconsin, everything in 2016 that Hillary.
Yeah, he needs everything that Hillary got. He needs he could lose Pennsylvania, but if he got Wisconsin and Michigan and then got Arizona, that's exactly 270.
Yeah, Arizona with 11. That's super important. That's, you know, and there's other combinations. There's you know, and then like the 2nd district and, you know, the Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, there's other things in play that you know, when I'm playing poker, I like to have draws where I'm going for a flush. You know, I've got lots of different outs. Any heart, any
right.
10 for a straight. You know, he'll be drawing live, and there's a chance that Trump could be drawing dead if he loses Florida or loses. So that's
the margin of error for Trump right now is I mean. We would both agree on this. The path, if we're just strictly, and I'm not talking about policies, I'm not talking about money spent, whatever. If you were running a campaign, right, you'd much rather probably be in Biden's position than Trump's. You know, when it comes to the map, when it comes to, I'm not talking about polling leads, I'm not talking about policies, whatever, right? I'm sure Trump would like to have those advantages, you know, in those states as well. So yeah, Biden's got a lot of paths, but again, I caution people. In 2016, what do we hear? Oh, Hillary's got a lot of paths. Hillary's got more paths than Donald Trump. Well, 6 hours into election night, we were looking at the one path Hillary had left and like the 2 or 3 Trump could have. So, I mean, things can change, but you know, you're talking about people's changing their minds. They actually, it's the last thing I'll say, because I don't know if you want to cut this short of how you want to do it, but In 2016, they did an exit poll, and it was done by Polling USA. And they asked people, when did you decide? 5% of voters decided in the last week, and 8% had decided in the last few days. So that's 13% that had decided within the week of the election in 2016. They just did the same poll today.
Can I
2%.
guess?
Oh, go ahead.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
All right.
I'm going to say like 3%.
The total is 3%. So it's 2% have made their decision in the last week, and 1% has made their decision. So that's the thing. People can be swayed, but it's based on what we're seeing. And I know what I'm going to hear. Oh, they're polls. They don't matter. Well, these polls are a bit different than state polls. This is there's no shy, you're not going to really have a shy Trump voter effect in these kind of polls. So 3%.
I would disagree with that, just marginally. I mean, I think that it's going to be less of an impact. And I think that polls have gotten better because they've added education.
They have.
They've added, but,
They weigh by education.
I think that there are plenty of people who, just to make the polling wrong, will be ornery and answer the question. I do that.
But I would say that I'm in the other boat of, we're talking about shy voters. My family does not know my plans to vote, because if they did, there would be a huge rift. It's not worth it. I'm not saying that there's these large numbers of shy Biden voters out there, but what I'm saying
I think there is. I think it'll that vote, the shy Biden voters with the less. I mean, there are some people who were shy Trumpers who now have the hat and are going on the parades.
Oh yeah,
but
live it up.
Yeah, but and again, like, there's the enthusiasm because you see people out in the streets. Well, COVID throws a wrench in everything, and I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think there are plenty. I mean, we say plenty. There's 150 million voters. Of course, there's thousands of shy voters on both sides. I will say this. I think that the shy voting effect might have played a pivotal role in some of those important states that Trump won. I think the turnout's going to be so high on both sides. I don't think those numbers are actually going to really matter too much. I think, it's can Trump hold on to his, and I've said this before, he's playing defense, but I have told plenty of people, they're like, oh, African-American turnout, Latino turnout, it's looking great in these. That's not going to matter. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. If you're African-American, Latino, please vote. Vote for whoever you want. If you want to vote Biden, vote Biden. If you want to vote Trump, vote Trump. If you want to vote third party, whatever. But the thing that's going to decide this election, in my perspective, is independents, the suburbs, seniors, and young people / people who have never voted before. Those are the groups that are going to decide this election. So if you want to narrow, one campaign has pushed this narrative. It's Biden's. Yeah, this whole suburban women get out. You can change the. It's somewhat true. But seniors and the young people, and Trump's not a slouch when it comes to young support. He has his bases of young support in specific states. So this is not a Biden or Trump endorsement. I'm just saying that's what's going to matter. People obsess a lot of times, and in states, African-American Latino turnout is important in Florida, and it's important in Texas. But it's not, I don't think that's going to decide the election. I think it's going to be the suburbs and independents. Independents last time, there were a lot of late decider independents. And they overwhelmingly, they went Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, no, because, and the reason why is because Trump didn't have a record. He was an establishment. I mean, they knew Hillary's record. That's why it's difficult. It's very, very difficult to be an incumbent because now you have a record to run on,
It'll be interesting and it'll be fun. So to put it all in a bow, please vote if you can. If you use your voice. Follow Nathan on Twitter at the Pinnacle HQ. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this video. We may have Nathan back. I enjoyed talking to you. He's a great player. If you happen to see him in the lounge or play him, maybe take a screenshot when you beat him.
There you go.
Get some stuff going. But I'll give you the last word, Nathan. But I do want to say that while this is a crazy environment, at the end of the day, we are all people. I hope that I know as divisive as Donald Trump is, if he's reelected, that people can accept that. Same thing with Trump supporters. If Biden is fairly elected, we are one country. We are, we're on the same team. So keep that in mind. I know that emotions are going to be running high. It's not worth losing friends and family over. I have friends and family and coworkers on both sides of the aisle, and just be a good person. And
Yeah.
I'll
Be
give you
civil.
the last word, Nathan.
Yeah, no, I'll just say I totally agree with everything you just said. This video was really, really fun to do. The VP combos with the candidates. I love the game. I think it's in a good position. It could get better. You know, there's some issues, but it's a really, really good, solid game. But I totally do agree. Since we're making this video right before the election, definitely get out there and vote. And like you said, you know, no matter who wins, the sun's going to come up the next day, and we have got to be in a position where we are able to move past these things and try to come together, because things are getting extremely divisive on both sides. And it's not, you know, it's not picking and choosing. We talked about this before. We call out both Democrats or Republicans who have, I mean, just been, you know, here and there all over the place, throwing, you know, the mud back and forth. We have got to come together, and we've just got to put things into perspective. Like you said, no matter who wins, you know, stay safe, everybody. I don't know. I know there's some people I'm sure in the lounge that live in maybe some areas. In the areas you and I live in, we're, no matter who wins, we'll probably be okay. But there's some people who live in some areas where one person wins, they're gonna have problems. Another person wins, they're gonna have problems. So I would just say, you know, try to stay safe. Everybody stay safe from COVID as well. But you know, things are okay. You know, things will be okay. I know people say that this isn't the end of the world, regardless of who wins. You know, I might be voting for Biden, but I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world if Trump wins. Okay, he's not. He's not Hitler. You know,
And he's not Hillary, and that does play
No,
a
he's not.
factor. I will say that I think Hillary Clinton was one of the worst candidates in history that could have been nominated. And if you disagree, that's fine. I'm not just
No, I
not you,
agree.
but people who are listening to this video. But Hillary is, or Biden is not Hillary, and that might have a factor as well. Because I'll tell you an honest story. People can judge me off this. I have voted Republican all my life, except one time. I voted Democrat in the 2008 primary. McCain was almost a shoo-in to win. I really didn't know a whole lot, but I knew I didn't want Hillary Clinton. So when they asked me, do I want a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot? I took a Democratic ballot, and I voted for Barack Obama because I did not want Hillary Clinton.
Right. And I'm sure you don't regret that decision now, do you?
Don't regret it one bit.
Right.
That was, so again, we will see.
Yeah, I was actually, to close it, I was actually talking to another conservative who's going to vote for Trump this time in the lounge the other day, and he said the same thing. He said, if we could only get a candidate with Trump's policies and Biden's demeanor, we would have a perfect candidate we could both support.
Yeah, I'm not a trumpeter. Trump. So I mean, I vote him. He's anti. He's himself. He's not a conservative. He's not really a Republican. You know, he's not. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that he, in my opinion, he's worthy of 4 more years. If he gets it, great. If not, I don't think the country's doomed with Joe Biden. So,
all right.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the stream. If you want to like and subscribe to the channel, we're getting close to 200 subs. I'm going to be doing a Amazon gift card giveaway when we get to that 200 mark. So stay tuned for more updates on that in the future. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks, Nathan.
All right. See you guys.